The Big 12 is not just dominating the transfer portal, buddy, we're running away with it. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from ESPN Central Texas. Thank you for making Locked On Big 12 your first listen every single day. Baby, guess which conference has the most teams in the top 10 of team rankings for the transfer portal? That would be the Dose Grande. Number 2 in the country. Come on down to Colorado Buffs. Number 3, those TCU Frogs. At number 9, the Texas Tech Red Raiders, who you say, oh, didn't they already have just a dominating class here? Did they just have a dominating recruiting class? A bunch of youngsters coming in. They're great. They do. And they have some transfers as well. And at number 10, what? Where did you come from? Where did you come from? Coach Dillingham and company at Arizona State. That is 4 of the top 10. Now, the number 1 team in the country is Ole Miss, but Colorado and TCU fall right behind them. And what we are seeing is teams. Listen to this. This is the best part. This is the best part. Teams that needed it. All right. Teams that needed to get better in the transfer portal are going and they are doing it. That's not just that doesn't apply to the entire Big 12. It doesn't apply to the entire country. Look at like a Baylor, right? Baylor was really bad at football this year. They were 3-9. They're 11th in the Big 12 and past 52nd in the country, according to 24/7 in team recruiting rankings. So this doesn't apply to the entire Big 12. And look, I cannot make the case to you that a Kansas has dominated the transfer portal, right? The depth this conference has. But I can make the case that Kansas has had positive attrition through the portal and has not needed to add very many pieces. A lot of their key guys who could come back have come back. Look at BYU, though. I need more from BYU in the transfer portal. After you learned last year how hard it is to compete at the highest level of college football, I need to see more from you in the portal. Oklahoma State, kind of like in Kansas, I don't necessarily. You know what you have. You've got a lot of guys that want to returning, including Alan Bowman, who is 28 years old or whatever he is now. You are okay. And Iowa State's kind of a middleman, despite being 16th in the Big 12 in the transfer portal right now. They've seen positive attrition and don't need to be elite. But the teams that were bad last year or did not meet expectations last year that needed to go to the portal, had guys leave via the portal, and needed to make a splash are doing that. Colorado is still trying to prove to you and me and everybody else that this whole transfer thing is going to work. Newsflash, in my way too early Big 12 preview, I'm going to tell you why Colorado will still not be very good next year because I haven't seen anything different. However, they're building a roster that might have the most talent in the Big 12. From who's a blue chip, who's not, Colorado is going to run away with this whole thing. Is that good or bad? TBD. They're not the team I want to focus on today. Instead, I want to go to like a TCU that 5-7 wasn't good. So they went out and got 15 commitments so far through the transfer portal. And when Sonny Dykes first came in, it's not like TCU said we have to recreate this team. They didn't pull a G.J. Kinney. They didn't pull a Deion Sanders. They got the right pieces. And I trust that when they got the right pieces, after they went to a national championship, that they can do it again under Sonny Dykes. Look at Texas Tech. Joey McGuire has never pretended to lean on the transfer portal. It's never been we have to recruit the transfer portal above all else. You're seeing like a Baylor do that right now because their recruiting class was so bad from the high school ranks. They have to lean on the portal. For Texas Tech, it's what do we need? We already had a really good class of newcomers coming in. What could we do to plug and play here to make things better? And they get 10 commits that have put them in the top 10 of the country. For Arizona State, it's we were really bad last year. We have to make a change. For Houston, who's in the top 20 in the transfer portal rankings in America, theirs was not only were we bad, we were bad, so much so that we had to fire our head coach. So the new guy is going to come in and rebuild via the portal because it's tough to build up a class of freshmen with 2 weeks before signing day. And you know what? Willie Fritz still built up his class of freshmen. Then at Cincinnati with Scott Satterfield, 6th in the Big 12 right now, 8 commits coming in, UCF right there behind them. For Cincinnati, kind of the same thing. I needed to see them be on the top half of this conference in the transfer portal to be able to compete next year after seeing how bad they were last year. Then there's the UCF conversation. I am shocked with how so many people are devaluing KJ Jefferson being at UCF. They don't believe that KJ Jefferson, who was a statistic god at Arkansas, he's the greatest quarterback in their history from a statistic standpoint. Why do so many people not like this? I can tell you. Can I be honest with you? Can I pull it back if you're a UCF fan especially? His attitude was an issue. I watched so many games. It's like, is this dude even trying right now? Then they fired the offensive coordinator, Dan Enos, at Arkansas, and he looked a lot better. Coming to UCF playing for Gus Malzahn, that's going to change. There's also, to me, a different culture at UCF and a culture that is fun. At Arkansas, there was a lot of pressure to win and pressure to succeed in every moment. At UCF, it's, look, dude, we're in the conference that had Nelly play the halftime show. Let's just go out there and get business done with Gus Malzahn, a fun offensive coordinator, a fun head coach, a fun guy. Do it. I think KJ Jefferson is going to be key. And now what you're seeing, and we had this conversation this week, as much as the SEC and the Big Ten want to scream, oh, we're the best conference in America, a lot of the top transfers are now coming to Big 12 schools. And also, I'm not going to take the excuse of, yeah, well, a lot of these SEC teams have been playing in bowl games right now, so they can't figure this thing out. Yeah, they can't really recruit the portal. No, these head coaches have staffs that go 100 people deep to do this stuff all the time, constantly. You're telling me they're getting out-recruited in the transfer portal by a TCU that's shown that it can not just win with the portal, but also develop out of the portal? Maybe that light bulb. Maybe that's the problem with Colorado. We know they can recruit transfers and build probably the best 24/7 roster in the Big 12, which that looks great on the screen, but does it equate to wins? Can they develop the talent? We've seen that from TCU. I think we're going to see that from Joey McGuire and Texas Tech. Arizona State, I think we can see that from Dillingham and company. Houston, we already know how good, how dangerous Willie Fritz is. Here are the teams in the Big 12 that needed to go out and revamp their teams and that are showing they are serious about the NIL, and the transfer portal. There are, I'm learning right now. Can I be honest with you? I am learning there are Big 12 teams, despite this conference being number one in the portal right now, who need to care a little bit more, who need to put a little more oomph into not just the portal, but also NIL. And the portal can be a direct reflection of what your commitment to the NIL is. So you go to a school like Baylor that claimed a couple of months ago that it was number one in the Big 12 in NIL, and turns out they weren't. It deleted that graphic. Why was it even up, dude? And you go to a school like that and you say, okay, all right, well, your commitment to NIL should reflect your portal if you're a bad team and need to go portaling, right? Well, they reflect one another, and it's a bad reflection. Now, look, here's this too. We talk about positive attrition. Some teams don't want to go to the portal. They don't need the portal. Alabama's outside the top 40. LSU's outside the top 35. Florida and Texas and Tennessee are all outside the top 30 in transfer portal classes. Maybe there's a reason that these teams at the very top are having such good classes. Because look, NC State's also in the top 10. They're not a perennial powerhouse. Purdue's in the top 10, not a perennial powerhouse. But what it proves, there are teams, there are coaches that are committed to winning, and the transfer portal might just even the playing field. We're not seeing Alabama in the top 5 of the transfer portal rankings. We're seeing teams like an A&M who fired its coach, or a USC who have good brands, but they just went 7-5. What we're seeing is maybe the playing field is evening because of the Big 12. Because the Big 12 gets to be at the top of this. Coming up, Gary Bohanon to BYU. That's a good transfer move. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team. It's every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is where I go to make money. I say, look, I want to make money today, so I go to FanDuel. I took a new job. I haven't told you guys what it is yet, but I took a new job, and I spent like $200 making my own uniform because I wanted it to look cool. So I went, said, I need to make $200 back to FanDuel, and it was that easy. I went in. I even got a couple hundred or $150 in free play because I put $5 down on a bet. The NFL regular season is wrapping up. There's still time to get in on the action. New customers, $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you just place a $5 bet. Just place one. Place one. $5 bet, get $150 in bonus bets. Easy to use. Live same game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. The best way to find popular plays. And visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get that $150. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Gary Bohanon is a BYU Cougar. The same Gary Bohanon that I watched win a Sugar Bowl. The same Gary Bohanon from Earl, Arkansas that I watched beat the brakes off of BYU in McLean Stadium in Waco against the Cougars is now playing in Provo, Utah. And when I tell you, when A-Rod gets his hands on this kid, something special can happen. Something special can happen. I believe that Gary Bohanon could be the starter for BYU next season after what I saw him do at Baylor University. He threw for 2,200 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in the Jeff Grimes offense, where he was not asked to do too much. And as long as he's not asked to do too much, he is a game controller. He is a field general. What he is going to give, what Gary Bohanon is going to give you, because I've seen it with my own 2 eyes, is experience. It's the ability to run the football effectively. It's the ability to create and to do it intelligently. This dude, might I remind you, as a Baylor Bear, in a system where, remember that Jeff Grimes guy I just mentioned? You BYU folks, you know him. That same dude just got fired from Baylor as a scapegoat. I mean, like Dave Arena was going to lose his job, had to offload a bunch of people. Well, the offense was, nobody complained about the offense in 2021, where Gary was nails, won the Sugar Bowl, took them to the Big 12 championship, which Baylor eventually won. Gary wasn't in that game due to injury, but he got him there. Bohanon beat BYU in Waco. Bohanon beat Oklahoma. He beat Texas that year, and his numbers would be even better if not for injury in that season. Gary Bohanon was a really impressive quarterback at Baylor. You all saw it, BYU fans, and I do believe he can get back to that. I do believe he can get back to that. This is my freshman year of college, would be his sophomore year. He's old. He's old, man. I was calling a game on the radio and for Baylor, and just remember him breaking a run off and thinking, oh my gosh, that might be the fastest dude in the team. And his legs are tree trunks, and watching practice in a quarterback battle and thinking, oh my gosh, this dude might not be electric, might not be a total game changer. He's not an elite quarterback. There are about 15 of those in the NCAA. But what he is a guy that knows how to win. And BYU needs that. Had 9 touchdown runs, 323 yards that year for Baylor in 2021. And he just won football games. So if that's what you want, then you got it in Gary Bohanon. His arm also developed. I am watching him his sophomore year, 2019, against Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship, which, again, this is a cat that's played in a Big 12 championship in 2019, got the team to 1 in 2021, was absolutely lights out behind Charlie Brewer, and then stepped up as the starter and started and won a Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss. Same cat. I remember watching him in that Big 12 championship against OU in 2019. Jalen Hurts, that's how old he is. CeeDee Lamb and Jalen. I used a urinal next to CeeDee Lamb at that game. That's how old Gary Bohanon is. Jeez. But in that one, going toe-to-toe with Jalen Hurts, he took it to overtime. Gary Bohanon took it to overtime. Now, a cast of characters played quarterback for Baylor in that game, but I remember thinking, I don't think Gary is ready. He's going to need some time. And guess what? Given time, he was good. At USF, he dealt with injuries. You didn't get to see the full encapsulation of what Gary Bohanon can be, but I promise you, the same guy that only had, listen to this, he was only sacked 9 times in 2021. He's only been sacked 16 times in his career. Listen to this. Whoa. Somebody clip this and post this on Twitter. Gary Bohanon has thrown 473 passes in his career in college football. That's a lot. He's only been sacked 16 times. Wasn't always playing behind an NFL caliber offensive line, but he was elusive. He's a guy who has played in a couple of Big 12 championships or gotten the team there, has won a Sugar Bowl, played in 2 Sugar Bowls, is as experienced, literally as experienced as they come in college football, and has delivered wins. That's why I think he can be effective. I think he can win. If he stays healthy, there are big ifs here. I'm giving you a lot of the positives. If he stays healthy, he can be a dynamic quarterback in the Big 12. And you'll remember, Locked On Big 12 2 years ago said that Gary Bohanon would be QB of the year at Baylor in 2022. It was announced that Blake Shapen would be the starter. I bet Baylor regrets that move because Gary Bohanon goes to USF and Blake Shapen never pans out. And now he's at Mississippi State. Bohanon's dealt with some bad coaching changes, some rough coaching decisions from his head coaches, but he's still here. He's still competing. And I think that BYU got a good one. Trust me on it. Give him a chance. Give him a chance. Let him start. Gbo. I got some funny Gbo stories. If you want some funny Gbo stories, just let me know. Hit me up because I got plenty of them. Coming up, let's talk Will Howard to Ohio State with Jay Stevens, the host of Locked On Buckeyes here on Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is where I go to find the last minute tickets for the lowest prices, guaranteed. I love to go to stuff. I go to concerts. I went to a concert the other day. I saw Turnpike Troubadours. Got my tickets at Game Time. That's right. GameTime.co. Download the app, the Game Time app. Easy to use. The only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, see your seat. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's right. Locked On, $20 off. Then with that, with the $20 off, your tickets is $20. It's free. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed with Locked On.